Hello, and welcome back to the ministry. And today we're doing something a little bit different. The Lord put this on my mind while I was sitting and listening to one of the females I listened to for encouragement and advice. And it dawned on me to do this. A lot of us have all been kind of in this space where we are always telling you guys, take this stuff back to the Lord and get confirmation. You should always do that. I don't care what video you're looking at by me or by anybody else, that you are looking back to the Lord for your wisdom, your guidance, your direction, and are in some sort of spiritual relationship with God, because it don't matter to do nothing that none of us says if you ain't got no direct relationship with God. And it's like, how are you, for those of y'all that are waiting on your God ordained marriage, how you gonna be in a relationship with somebody that you don't ever talk to the person, you don't never deal with the person, you don't have no direct connect with that person, but you'll go to your friends and they friends and other people that's talking about them and get advice, wisdom, all this, but you don't never talk to your partner. Don't never talk to him. You think that that will be a bad thing, and don't let it be a scenario where it's you, right? Where your partner's not coming to you. They talking to everybody, Joe Schmo and everybody else, but they not coming to you to have a direct conversation, and you know you hurt. Hello, those of you waiting on kingdom marriage and you still ain't seen your God ordained spouse yet, but you know that you're spiritually communicating. Think about that feeling of discomfort and this uncomfortableness. God giving you 15 confirmations and you like, God, I agree with you. I don't see it. Don't look. So, why am I here right now? I'm about to show you how you know God's called you to an influential relationship. Okay? We're ready. Because this is how God dealt with me. All right? Here we go. Take notes. I'm going to give you some bases as to how this all went down. Number one, me was not looking for an influential relationship. Nope. Not at all. I remember after my last relationship ended, I wasn't looking for nobody else. That was a tumultuously uncomfortable relationship to be in. There was a whole lot of mistrust. There was a whole lot of mess with that. And the way that it broke up, when it finally broke up, it was very disrespectful in certain ways. We tried to have conversations afterwards. We tried to just talk like people. When God breaks something up, he breaks something up, okay? And I wasn't even walking with God then yet, because we broke up in 2012, and I didn't start walking with God until 2014. But I had to get into a headspace where I could even receive God, because I was burnt during that season. And I really didn't want no relationship right after that. In 2014, I finally sought out God and got into a really weird headspace mentally. And I said, I can't do this without God. God, I don't know what this is, but whatever this is, I got to do it with you, because everything I tried, it's not working. It's not working. It isn't. So from, I'll say, 2014, 15, I started just really focusing on walking with God. I started focusing on, when I was doing this, I was also transitioning the things that I was putting my hands to, because I hadn't been in school for about 2 years then. I had a whole lot of pressure on me about getting a job. And I was trying to understand God in a different way, because I was like, I need to know you. And God was kind of showing me a lot of the things that a lot of Christians get distracted by in the early days of walking with God, meaning the new age stuff, the angel numbers, the intuitives and all that type of stuff. I walked with some of them people too in the very beginning, but I had to pray to the Lord. I even looked at some of the Napoleon Hill stuff early on, until God kind of showed me, it's like, you realize all that is based on me. And I was like, you're right. I don't need to follow these people no more. Why am I following these people? So I started focusing mostly on quotes and all this kind of stuff on Facebook and stuff like that were directly from the Bible. And I started marking up my Bible, because I had found the Bible that I had bought, I think in 2011. I tried to read one night, and I read all the way through. I think it was 2 to 3 nights there that I sat there and I read all of Genesis and part of Exodus. I think it was. And it was starting to get interested in me. I was like, "Ooh, this is good." But I put it back down, and I didn't pick the Bible back up until I started working on the quotes after I started following God. Now, I had a lot of things that I was working on self. So I had at the time I was working a fashion blog, and because that's what I was doing in college. So I was trying to operate in the fashion blog, and the Lord had managed to get me connected with some people locally that I was going to their business events, and the person that ran that business event connected me to the person that used to operate out of the 2 news station, and she was running all of the fashion events, and I went to every fashion event that she had. So I got tons of pictures from back then. When I was doing the fashion shows, front row seats, VIP, stuff like that, locally. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. But I wasn't thinking about no relationship at that time. Plus, I was not thinking about no relationship at that time. I was thinking about me. I was thinking about, how can I do this for God? And the Lord started to pull me out of the fashion stuff. I was like, excuse me, this is what I do. This is this. And he's like, I need you to pull back. And he started to shift my content to more spiritual content. A lot of the stuff that you saw in the very beginning of this channel, when I first started recording steady content, them first 200 or so odd content messages, that was all the messages I started writing back then. Because he shifted my content from fashion. He literally had me close that fashion page down. I wrote a post, and I did a video saying, I'm done with this page. The Lord's pulling me out of this. I can't do this right now. So I was focused on recalibrating my life and figuring out what God wanted me to do then, because he was pulling me out of the fashion. And I wanted to think about no relationship. And he led me to go to an event locally that come find out, my professor from college was running it, and it was right around the corner from my house at the time. And she prophesied to me at that event. I was like, what? And she kept saying that. She said that I was called to something public. And I was like, she was the first one to prophesy to me that. So I'm like, oh, okay. One thing about no man in my life at that time, she publicly said this to a group of about 20 people that was sitting there. It was anywhere from 20 to 30 people that was sitting there. That's when she said this. And I messaged her to remind her, I used to be one of your students. And she was like, oh my God, I remember you. She the only one that kept me in her class because I was about to drop her class. And she said, if you stick in here, you will be blessed. And I stayed. And she said something publicly to that class before I left that always stuck with me. That's why I went to that event that day. Because when I saw it was her, I was like, you know what? I'm going to come. And I found out that she went into ministry. So what does this have to do with relationships? At the end of that year, she did a prayer call because nobody was going to the park because it was too cold to be out there at that time. So she was doing the calls on the phone. And it was December 2015. And she said that for those of y'all that are seeking or desiring to be married, and she released some type of word in relation to marriage. And you know what I said? I said, hey, God, I don't know. I don't know nothing about no marriage. I don't know anything about the desiring for marriage or anything like this. But I do know this. This past year, I had written a book. I finished the book. And I was trying to figure out, okay, what was my next move? So I wasn't even thinking nothing about a relationship. And I said, God, if you want to bring me a relationship, you're going to have to do it because I ain't chasing no man for no reason. Period. It's not happening. And it's funny because I believe, it was that year. It was either that year or early 2016. It was sometime between then. I remember it must have been early 2016 because I hadn't even prayed yet for that. I didn't pray for that until late 2015. So I remember in 2015, a photo popped up of the guy that God was showing me was my spouse later on. But I wasn't even thinking about marriage right then. I wasn't thinking about marriage. It wasn't on my mind. I was focused on, I got this book. How are we going to get this book out? That's it. Maybe we're going to self-publish. I don't know. But whatever that is, we're going to work on it like that. I was not thinking about no marriage. I wasn't thinking about no man. I was not thinking about no man. I was not thinking about no man. Let me repeat that. I wasn't thinking about no man. I wasn't thinking about no man. Anyway, after that, I saw the photo and I got a little tinge in my heart of this guy. And I'm like, ain't no damn way. This is some weird feeling I'm getting. I don't know what this is because this has nothing to do with this man because I have no interest in this guy because this guy, from my standpoint, the photo that he showed me of the dude that he was showing me that I was going to connect myself with, out my league. Me league? Far away. No. But I kind of like this music. That was it. I'm like, nope. I won't think about him farthest from my brain. Out of my leg. No. Next year. I'm trying to figure out how to get this book out. Because I believe at this point I had now been interested to Jolene Whitaker. I had been introduced to my coach, and I was just trying to process what do I need to do in this time in this season. I was more so focused on business and ministry related things, meaning focusing on the ministries that I followed and focusing on business related stuff. Going to the park and just getting my me time, reading my word, just getting direction, staying in a space of clarity, of self, going to the park all the time, because that was a season I was walking around the park every day, and I would stay in the park 8 hours a day, reading my word, listening to the ministries until my phone died for the day, and then I would come back at night. And I'm like, that was my season when I was just trying to get the clarity of God. But, oh God, don't make me emotional. I remember this man go see this video. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. I remember walking around the park, because I will walk around that reservoir 3, 4, 5 times a day, because I just didn't want to be in the house no more. And I remember I used to listen to these audio, it was like ministerial instrumentals, and I would sit there and I would pray to God. And 9 times out of 10, I was in prayer with God, walking. And when I came back at like 6, 7 o'clock at night, I would sit and I would dictate and I would write down everything that the Lord showed me. And this was when I was doing it with pen and pencil. I was not typing it into my phone or anything like that. And I remember I would pray to God, because I knew that there was something I wanted, but I was just talking. Some of the things, you got to realize that when you're talking to God, He is listening to you. And I remember saying to God specifically, we talked for hours about things, but this particular conversation, I was talking about, God, I'm not interested in a guy who has no particular external appearance. I'm not out here. He got to be fine. He don't got to have money. He don't got to be any kind of anything. I wasn't thinking about nothing like that. It was not on my mind. I was just walking with God at the time, and I was expressing the things that I didn't get in my first relationship. That's all I was doing. I was expressing that. And I said, I don't care if he's Indian. I don't care if he's black. I don't care if he's Asian, white, this, that, the other. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. As long as this man loves me and gives me what I did not get in the previous relationship. And because I was working on myself and my goals, I knew that this man had to be going in some type of direction that he could lead me and be able to have a personality that could align with where God was trying to take me to. Now, forgetting that I used to listen to Lisa Nichols, and Lisa Nichols used to always say, always find somebody that's a mentorial person that's either 3 to 5 steps ahead of you. So why did I figure that God wasn't going to potentially be sending me a man that was 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of me? I don't know why. Don't know why. But I wasn't thinking about this man. So, I've been talking to God, and all of a sudden, I'm on the bus one morning because I had gotten a temp job. And this was the second temp job after the first temp job. It let me go after the 3 weeks period that I was supposed to be working it. And I thought I was going to be on this new temp job for a minute. But it was some shady stuff that they were doing. And the woman hated me that first day. And it wasn't something that I did. I just think she didn't like my spirit because I'm Christian. You know how Christians are in jobs. It's like our light obscures their stupidity. So it's like when I went in there, this woman hated me from the jump. The whole day was a massive, insane mess. And by the time I sat down at 4 o'clock that afternoon, this woman then gives me the instructions that I should have got while I was sitting there for 2 hours. Because I came into work at 7 o'clock that morning. We didn't start till 9. 8:30 they were supposed to explain. 8:30 they were starting up. They should have explained to me what was on that piece of paper between 7 and 8:30. They never did. That woman ain't tell me diddly squat. That's not the point. Point is, I had to go back to the job because I left my coat the next day. After that morning, they called me, said I wasn't supposed to go back in, but I had to go get my coat. So when I was going back to get my coat, a man shows up on a bus. And we start talking. And I was always giving people business advice because I always was going to them business events. The business events saved me during that season because it was like a breath of fresh air. So this guy starts talking to me about, he was talking to a bus driver. That's what it was. He was talking to the bus driver about this thing that he was trying to create, an application or something, application website, something in relation to matching people. Now, I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about none of that at all. I was thinking when I heard him talking about that, hey, I go to a business event every such and such time, whether it was every 2 weeks or every month. And I was like, they might love what you have and they might be, I was like, hey, I got this guy's card. Let me give it to you. He was like, hey, how you doing? And then we ended up, I'm on the bus. He's going down. I get my coat, come back to catch the bus. On my way back, he's still on the bus. Evidently, he went and did what he had to do and caught the bus right back. He comes and sits next to me and we start talking, and he starts talking about, randomly starts asking me questions about my relationship. And I'm like, I don't have a relationship. And it was weird. He said, I'm going to give you my number and blah, 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 blah. Now, at first, I think this dude is trying to play me. He got to be trying to play me. Like, he trying to start talking to me. And, you know how you think as a female? It's like, this guy trying to talk to me. It's like, I'm going to talk to you about business. I don't really want to talk to you about relationships. So, I don't know whether he called me or I called him. I don't think I called him. I think he called me because I wasn't thinking about talking to him. But I remember being on the phone with him. We talked twice. And he said, would you mind if I put you through the process? I mean, I want to show you what this application that I'm thinking about creating does. And I said, whatever. We ended up sitting on the phone talking for about 3 hours. And I'm sitting there like, for one, because I'm not the type of person that's rude and wants to be like, look, get off my phone. I sat there and I talked to him, but he was talking about God the whole time. So that was the only thing that kept me on the phone with this dude. And I'm sitting there like, okay. And he starts asking me questions. Like, what kind of guy would you date? And I'm like, this guy must be trying to holler at me. There ain't no way he's staying on his phone if he ain't trying to holler at me. But he told me he's married and he got 2 kids. I think one of the kids was with his wife and two other ones she already had or something like that. So I felt a little bit better, but I still thought he was trying to flirt with me. At least that's what I thought. Anyway, he starts talking to me about what would the guy potentially be like. And I'm like, I'm not really thinking about it, but I did start to express some of the things that I'd been talking to God about in relation to the guy that I was interested in, the idealness of what the type of man that I wanted in my life. And we talked, and he was like, well, what's your age range? If it was a specific guy, let me tell you something. I gave this man an age range. God has done exceeded that. It's like when you give God a limit, he always surpasses the limit. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not going to be when and how you want it. Because it was certain things I was just sitting there praying and talking to God about. And then God started showing me, like, if you got married, which wedding ring would you be interested in? Started popping up on my Facebook. And I'm like, maybe my phone is listening to me. I don't know. This is weird. But I'm not focused on that. But then, this one particular day, and I already could tell this is going to be a 2-parter, so get ready. There's going to be another part to this. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, Yeah. I kind of like the pear shaped ring. I mean, I ain't got nothing against it. That's all right. So, I mean, it was okay, whatever. Then all of a sudden, not too long later, what kind of wedding dress would you wear if you got married? You know, that pops up on my Facebook. I'm like, I mean, I like be nice. I mean, because it was about 6 dresses, and I'm like, be nice, isn't it? It's Facebook. You ain't even thinking about it seriously like that. I'm like, nah. If you got married, what kind of shoe would you wear? I was like, I don't think I was like, Jesus, what is this? Am I being interviewed with it? Am I being subconsciously interviewed for something that I don't know that I'm being interviewed for? I mean, like, what is this? I'm 100% legitimately saying this. This is exactly how it went down. If I'm lying, I'm dying. I'm not lying. This is exactly how it went down. I'm simply like, okay, whatever. Remember, I'm trying to get my book taken care of. I ain't thinking about marriage. Keep going. This one particular night, I was staying with a family member that I was with. I had gone up into my room and I was irritated about something. I don't know whether she said something to me or something like that. And I was just irritated. And I was listening to music. And the guy's music video popped up. Still not thinking about this guy. I like easy listening music. I do. So I'm playing this music in the background because I'm just trying to calm my nerves down after dealing with this person. And I just so happened, I looked at the dude, and me and God always be having this conversation, and I'm sitting up there like, now, this guy, I see how this guy is. You see the person. Now, somebody told me this a long time ago. Don't ever pray for the guy. Pray for the characteristics of that person, potentially to be the person which you are interested in. I'm like, okay. That was a long time ago, and I wasn't thinking about it right there. But I was talking to the Lord, and I was like, when I saw the music video, I was like, now see, that's some his look and his eclecticness. I mean, that's nice, God. I kind of like that. I could do that kind of that kind of guy. Not thinking about guy at all. Now remember, this is the same guy that I had this weird chest pain about a year before. Not thinking about this guy. I'm not. Not thinking about him. I just was easily listening to his music that particular day, and I said, God, see, that's a type of guy. That's an external type. I like that type. You look good. All right. Moving on. But I was still irritated that night. So I turned around and I turned completely away from the computer, no longer listening to the music. And I'm sitting there and I say a prayer to the Lord about, I'm tired, God. I'm tired of not having people in my life that support me. I'm tired of this, that, and the other. And if you should send a man into my life, I need to know that this person is going to be there for me. He's going to support me. And I was giving God the list of stuff. Still, just talking to God. Not paying no attention. Not putting two and two. Nothing. I went on about myself because you know how we do. We pray to God after we're upset. He calms us down in the spirit. And we go back to what we were doing. Still not paying attention to nothing. Old Boy album come out. Because the year before, I was looking for that album when I saw the photograph that got me attention in the chest. And I'm like, excuse me. Okay. So, I didn't think about it. I'm happy because the album came out because I listened to his music anyway because I kind of liked his music. And I was like, okay, I'm glad his album came out. Yay! His album comes out. And I was listening to it. The prophetess that I listened to, she does a special broadcast where she's saying, some of y'all, the Lord's going to show you who your husband is. He's going to do it in a very specific way that is going to be very personal to you. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm still not thinking about this man. I ain't thinking about this man. I ain't thinking about this man. I'm just listening to music because I like music. And I love tempos and I love certain types of beats. And his music is just easy listening to. So when I'm working on stuff, I would always just listen to it because it was easy to listen to while I'm working on stuff. I could sit for 8 hours and listen to his music and just be chill. I wasn't thinking about him at all. So the album comes out. It's been about 3 weeks since the album comes out. My birthday's about to come up because my birthday was on the 24th of July. And on the 26th of July, and actually it was the 25th, God starts talking to me about my wedding. And I'm sitting there like, what, for what? And he's like, what would you, and he starts asking me certain things. He has me write a letter to my future husband. I ignored this. I'm having conversation, and then God starts bringing confirmation. Why? Because I don't know when he brought it, but I wrote the letter, Dear Future Husband, and the song, within days of me writing it, pops up from, what's her name? Megan Trainor, Dear Future Husband. I'm like, I didn't know that song existed. I don't listen to Megan Trainor at all. I'm like, excuse me? What? So I'm like, this is weird. Still, I'm like, no, whatever. But I wrote the letter and I left it in a binder. I no longer have that letter. Life happens. Things happen. A lot of the stuff I wrote in that season I no longer have because the binders and stuff that I wrote it in, I had a whole case of writings that lost it. I no longer have it. And moving forward, one day there I was just sitting and listening to music. Tamar Braxton had come out with her second album, and I was listening to the whole album, and it was one song that stuck out called Free Falling. And this particular day I was sitting there listening to this song, Free Falling, and when I tell you, it was the middle of the afternoon, and it felt like somebody took an arrow and shot me straight